Yamasaki was the architect. World Trade Center in New York City, which was briefly the tallest building in the world, was designed by Yamasaki. Wow.
He also built another Twin Towers.
Minoru Yamasaki.
In California called like the Twin Century Towers.
Yeah.
And I guess like when you watch Fight Club at the end when all those buildings
I think those are in Santa Monica. I think
those were the Twin Century Towers, which kind of look like the Twin Towers, and he actually built them to look like the Twin Towers. Probably the same material, same structural design, just different.
Those didn't collapse, did they?
Not
yet.
In Fight Club.
In Fight Club they did.
See, that's what's crazy. Is Fight Club came out like 1999.
Oh my God.
Right, and it was about taking down the stock market, basically. Right, the plot, basically. Yeah, and then at the end. What was crazy is when I was younger and we were watching that movie, we rented it from Blockbuster. Let's watch this. Me and my brother, we go home and we're watching it. My mom walks in at the end of the movie when the buildings are falling down. And like I said, her father built the Twin Towers. So when she saw those towers going down, just walking in the room for 2 seconds, she was like, turn that movie off. I don't like it. Like all this. And that was before 9/11. She didn't even make the association. They're like, wow, that happened 2 years later or 3 years later. And then what I didn't realize is that the buildings that fell in that movie were a different 2 towers that this guy happened to build.
The same guy that built the Twin Towers.
Different from the Century Towers?
He built both the Century Towers and the Twin Towers.
Right.
So if it was a reference to the Twin Towers falling, they used a reference to the other Twin Towers the same guy built.
That is really weird, isn't it?
That's a strange coincidence.
It's hard to avoid.
Sure.
It's hard to avoid those kind of coincidences, isn't it?
Yeah. And I don't know. My perspective on it was I was a little kid watching this movie in 1999. My mom's walking in the room, and she saw those buildings going down. My grandmother took us to the World Trade Center 1 year before it went down. It was almost like she might have known because her husband at the time was constructing it. Like, I feel like that could have been a huge part of why she got divorced and took the kids down here to Florida. Get away.
There's no way the fucking construction companies knew about that shit.
Well, he was the foreman.
Even the foreman, bro.
I don't know, dude.
They're not going to tell.
He might be working hand in hand with that guy we had pulled up there. He would have to be.
No, bro. The foreman? There's no way. The foremen are so far down the ladder from the people that are funding this shit, and they would never let those. The foremen are.
No,
but they're building it.
The architect. He had to have at least met that architect.
Yeah, but do you really even think the architect knew this kind of stuff? This is like deep state conspiracy.
The Federal Reserve.
He definitely knows.
So if there was any secret entrances in and out of this building, this guy knew, and probably the foreman.
Yeah.
Because like when it went down, it wasn't.
Is this guy still alive, Yamasaki?
No.
He's born in 1912, so doubt it.
Okay.
See, that same time period where things were getting rough. 1912, that's like the same time period. So one of the first Hollywood blockbuster films was A Birth of a Nation. Are you familiar with that film at all? Birth of a Nation was like a radical propaganda film, black and white, silent, promoting the KKK. It was the first movie shown in the White House.
What?
Yeah. The KKK was booming in 1919. Right, but that movie was a lead grossing film until Gone with the Wind came out. So it had like a 30-year pedestal.
How the Birth of a Nation revived the Ku Klux Klan. Wait, what does that top part say? The very top part. D.W. Griffith's controversial epic 1915 film about the Civil War and the Reconstruction depicted the Ku Klux Klan as valiant saviors of the post-war South, ravaged by northern carpetbaggers and freed black people. Wow.
Look, they even got the KKK horse.
Fucking dude looks like a knight on a horse. Wow, that's
That
fucking
horse has no idea
crazy,
what he's doing,
bro.
So that's like the first big blockbuster film.
Yeah, if if anybody wants to say anybody's racist, say it's Hollywood, because Hollywood was funded by this.
Off
Like,
this movie.
yeah, look, it was like the lead grossing film for like 30 years until Gone with the Wind came out.
God damn.
What motivates you to research all this stuff?
I just see little things and red flags, dude. Just like Paul was killed.
Just like who?
Paul from the Beatles.
Oh,
You guys have heard that conspiracy, right?
No.
I guess there's statistics that when that conspiracy was rolling, like
what is that?
61%. So like I was saying, Bob Dylan could have been killed and replaced, but he actually had time between when the new guy came out. There was like a hiatus.
Yeah, there was a
So
couple
that
years.
helps.
Yeah.
Well, when the rumor of Paul being dead was, well, it was because, like I said, the government was helping the Beatles out over here. And there's all kinds of rumors that the Beatles were being put on LSD with and without them knowing it. So, like, George Harrison from the Beatles was on the Dick Cavett show, and he was interviewed. And Dick Cavett was kind of being like, what is it? He was gaslighting George Harrison. And he was like, George, like, why are you guys admitting on national television, international television, that you guys do drugs? Like, isn't that irresponsible to your young viewers? And George Harrison just responded like so professionally. He was like, well, is it my responsibility to lie about what you asked me? Don't ask the question.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if you don't want to know the answer. And then he was talking about LSD, and he was like, yeah, the first time we did LSD, we didn't even know we were on it. We were at our doctor's house, and he had given us some coffee.
Sidney Gottlieb?
What's that?
Oh, never mind.
I don't know who that is.
Okay, I'll explain after you finish the story. Sorry to interrupt.
So, no, but that was pretty much the end of the story.
Oh,
You
was
said
it?
at the perfect time.
Sidney Gottlieb was a guy, chemist, who was hired by he was like the CIA's lead chemist. They called him the poisoner in chief, and he developed a program called MK Ultra.
Yeah, this is all about MK Ultra.
Yeah, and that's goes back to like the whole Charles Manson. I just had a guy on here who spent the last 20 years of his life writing a book about Charles Manson. It's called Chaos, and it basically debunks all of the known narratives about the Manson murders, the LaBianca Tate murders, and it basically explains how Manson kept getting let out of prison when he shouldn't have been, and kept violating parole and getting let out, and how they were visiting this free clinic in San Francisco, and him and all of his hippie followers, they were going to this free clinic, and they were getting LSD.
Yeah.
And it's basically all.
Well,
goes
if
back
you
to all
listen
that
to the
mind control
Hotel
shit.
California backwards, there's references almost like that was the spot to get the LSD from the operatives to Hotel California.
What?
Yeah.